all gathered here today, it is because the government of the day wishes to have a discussion on our national song, Vande Mataram, in the 150th year of its birth. हम ध्यान से आपकी बात सुने, राजनाथ जी और पीएम साहब दोनों। बहुत खूबसूरत है हर बात, लेकिन अगर दिल भी होता तो क्या बात होती? The irony is not lost on us parliamentarians present here, or on a billion-plus Indians who we represent, that we are living in an India today where real unemployment among the youth is upwards of 20%. That we are choking in a national capital where AQI routine levels are over 800, when the centre is purposefully starving non-BJP states of their Manrega, their housing, and their water dues, where millions of people are being subjected to a hurried, arbitrary process of mass disenfranchisement, when in session after session, we in the opposition are bullied, browbeaten, and prevented from raising pressing issues of national importance, suddenly the government finds it so important, so necessary, so urgent to discuss the historical complexities of a song. What is even more ironic is the claim that the hate and divisiveness in today's India can be linked back to this song. And by the way, just 2 weeks ago, on November 24, 2025, the Rajya Sabha Parliamentary Bulletin published a section on parliamentary customs and conventions, where it explicitly informed all members that the decorum and the seriousness of the proceedings of the House requires that there should be no Jai Hind, Vande Mataram, or any other slogans raised in the House. So Vande Mataram, in your view, as of last week, placed on record in a parliamentary bulletin as a slogan that was both indecorous and non-serious. And yet, you suddenly want to discuss it for 10 hours in this House. Why? I'll tell you why. Because, no doubt, some half-wit BJP IT cell minion has probably advised you that the Vande Mataram card, if played right, will give you an advantage to the BJP in the 2026 Bengal elections. There is no other reason behind the timing of this discussion. None at all. Take it from me. But we are delighted. We are delighted not only to be able to get this fabulous opportunity to give you a lesson in history, but also to demonstrate to you that how delving into Vande Mataram will only prove how removed you are from the soul of Bengal, from the psyche of Bengal, and how our Ma will never be hostage to your narrow electoral goals. Yes. Let the history lesson begin. What do you say? Let it begin. Bankim Chandra Chattopadhyay's two-stanza hymn, Vande Mataram, was first published in the literary journal Bongo Darshan on November 7, 1875. At that time, there were no patriotic societies or nationalistic organizations to speak of in India, except for the Indian League in Calcutta, which was founded by some patriotic Bengalis, Shishir Ghosh, Ananda Mohan Bose, Surendranath Banerjee, to rally public support against British colonial rule. The RSS and the BJP were nowhere in sight. The RSS was formed 50 years later, in 1925, and the BJP was formed 105 years later, in 1980. And incidentally, the ruling party, the Sangh Parivar, do not sing Vande Mataram. I remember this hilarious episode in 2017, I think it was, on TV, where there was a BJP spokesperson called Naveen Kumar Singh, and he was asked to sing Vande Mataram. He was looking at his mobile phone, and even then he couldn't sing it. Also, in August 2017, I remember a cabinet minister in the UP government, Baldev Singh Aulak, I think his name was, he was unable to correctly sing this song on a TV news show. In January 2019, before the last Lok Sabha election, BJP leaders held a protest where they were going to make Muslims sing the song. They themselves could not sing the song correctly, so the meeting descended into chaos, and the BJP leaders and their followers chanted slogans like, "Is desh mein agar rehna hoga, to Vande Mataram kehna hoga." So frankly, the BJP's commitment to this song is a badly scripted comedy. The British banned the use of this slogan, Vande Mataram, under the sedition laws, and banned its singing in any public place. When India's youngest freedom fighter, Bengal's brave son, Khudiram Bose, was led to the gallows in 1908, he had Vande Mataram on his lips. When in 1927, Ram Prasad Bismil walked to the gallows in Gorakhpur jail, when Ashfaqullah Khan walked to the gallows in Faizabad jail, they all had Vande Mataram on their lips. But this is the same slogan that the Rajya Sabha bulletin finds non-decorous and non-serious in the Rajya Sabha. Who in the BJP, who in the RSS, who in the treasury benches can claim even a tenuous link to the freedom struggle, that today you feel you are the guardians of Vande Mataram and will teach us Bengalis and the rest of India what its significance is? Out of 585 total prisoners in Andaman Cellular Jail, Kalapani, between 1909 and 1938, 68%, 398 were Bengali. The second largest contingent was from the Punjab, 95 revolutionaries. Why did you not rename the cellular jail after Barin Ghosh, after Ullashkar Dotto, after Indu Bhushan Roy? What homage have you paid Bengal? What homage have you played the land of Vande Mataram? Today you're having a discussion on this. The hymn Vande Mataram did not gain much popularity till it was included in Bankim Chandra Chattopadhyay's novel Anandamot in 1882 when it was published. Now, when he published it, he added 4 extra stanzas to it. The first 2 stanzas, which he had written in 1875, were a lyrical ode to the motherland. It says, giver of bliss, beauty. The version in the novel, which he incorporated in 1881-82, had a different tone than that of the original poem. The figure of sweetness and light was now endowed with a fearsome accoutrement and the trappings of war almost. But this is in keeping with the narrative of the novel, which was about the Shonnashi rebellion. It is important to note here that in the next 4 stanzas that he wrote, Bankim Chandra Chattopadhyay used the words Shaptokoti, which means 7 crores. Now, 7 crores in the 1871 census was the population of undivided Bengal, Bihar, Orissa, and Assam. So this means that the novel, the hymn, was about Bengal. The hymn was about Bengal, and the mother he refers to is also in Bengal's concept and Bengal's context. This was not originally written as a nationalistic, pan-India song. It was not. Let's be very clear about that. So how did it become this nationalistic song? How does A.R. Rahman sing it in 1997? How? It was none other than the poet laureate Rabindranath Tagore who composed the first musical score of the song based on Desh Ragini around 1885. Rishi Bankim liked the song and the tune so much, he himself included it in the 3rd edition of his book, Anandamot, in 1886. Tagore, in 1937, writes to Nehru, and he writes to Nehru that the privilege of originally setting its first stanza to the tune was mine. When the author was still alive, Bankim died in 1894. He says, I set it to tune while Bankim was still alive. And I was the first person to sing it. So Tagore was the first person to sing it publicly before a public gathering of the Calcutta Congress in 1896. So Tagore sets the tune and he sings it publicly in the presence of Rahmatullah Saini, Dadabhai Nauroji, Surendranath Banerjee. The song gained mass popularity when? Only after 1905, when the Swadeshi movement as a reaction to Lord Curzon's partition of Bengal took place. Itinerant singers sung it in Prabhat Feris every morning to raise national consciousness. Rabindranath Tagore himself, on Raksha Bandhan Day, October 16th, 1905, led the famous anti-partition protest where Hindus and Muslims tied Rakhis on each other and said, Vande Mataram. Today, this BJP government, who claims to promote Vande Mataram, has ensured that even the moon, that moon of Raksha Purnima, that moon of Eid, has been partitioned. Hindu women can break their Karwa Chauth fast on their roof with the sighting of the moon, but a Muslim in a BJP-ruled state is forbidden from offering Eid ka namaz on his roof to the same moon. And you are blaming a song for India's divisiveness. The song was sung again during the Congress session in Benares in 1905 by Tagore's niece, Sharla Devi Chaudhurani, who replaced the Shaptokoti, the 7 crores, with Trikshakoti, which means 30 crores, which is the population of India in the last census of 1901. So this is the first time that the song is gathering a pan-national appeal. Gandhiji, in the Indian Opinion paper, he writes in December 1905 that this song is so popular. Just as we worship our mother, so is this song a passionate prayer to India. Tagore continued to use the refrain Vande Mataram almost as a slogan in some of his own songs. He says it in many of his own songs. Many of his own songs use the term Vande Mataram. The Swadeshi agitation of 1905 and 1908 saw Vande Mataram as a clarion call. The great Tamil poet Subramanya Bharati, he translated it in Tamil in 1905. It began to be sung in meetings and processions all over India, from coastal Andhra Pradesh, from Vijayawada and the Krishna, to after Jallianwala Bagh in the canals and cantonments of Punjab, where they didn't think of it as a Bengali Sanskrit hymn. They saw it as a shared call of resistance. You, this government today, claim to be the guardians, the true upholders of the spirit of Vande Mataram. We've listened to the Prime Minister for an hour. We've listened to the Honorable Defence Minister for an hour tell us about how they are the true upholders of Vande Mataram. So let me, as a true Bengali, as a proud Bengali, speak for 10 koti Bengalis today, who you call Bangladeshis, who you call Rohingyas. You harass us on the streets. In colonies, you throw us out when we are pregnant across the border. I'm going to dissect the song stanza by stanza and demonstrate how you are butchering both the spirit and the soul of Vande Mataram far more than any 1937 resolution ever did. Sujalang Sufalang Balayaja Shitalang Shushasamlang Mataram. What do we have here? What have you done on your watch? Sujalang, beautiful abundant water. Over 70% of India's surface water is undrinkable today. India ranks 120 out of 122 countries in the Water Quality Index. 21 major cities, including Delhi and Bangalore, are expected to deplete their groundwater reserves by 2030.